All right? And he's getting the mindless morons to do all his dirty work for him to make him into God. But if you really look at Scientology, if you want to just come up here, sit down if you want. Close your eyes for 2 hours and don't make a move. All right, you guys watch him. If he moves in any way, you got to flunk him. He's got to start over and do it another 2 hours. And if he does it again, all right, do it again. Start. Ready?
Is this more money? I have to pay more money for this?
You pay money for this. You pay to sit down and shut up, and then you pay to lose your mind, and then you pay to go out and... Do we have any other volunteers who can do this for 2 hours? Now, when you finish that drill, he gets to open his eyes and do it. But back in the early 80s, when I was in Scientology, and Hubbard was actually there in the background reviewing our tapes, you weren't allowed to blink. If you blinked, it was a flunk. If your eyes watered, it's a flunk because they worship death. Thanatos. You've seen the word Thetan? Hubbard was a homosexual transvestite, actually. He talks a lot about homosexuality as being a bad thing, but he actually was a homosexual. He did a satanic sex ritual with a man named Jack Parsons, who has a crater named for himself on the dark side of the moon. He was a worshiper of Aleister Crowley, 666, beast, wickedest man in the world. L. Ron Hubbard calls Crowley his best friend, or his good friend. So Hubbard is friends with the devil. Now, if he wants to be friends with the devil, then the goal of Scientology is to make new devils. If you're there in the early 80s, as I was, we found out that L. Ron Hubbard was a hateful son of a bitch. In fact, according to Hubbard, we're all bitches and sons of bitches. We're all dogs. He should be taken up against the wall and shot. I submitted the evidence to the United States Tax Court, where L. Ron Hubbard, in his dissemination pack, says that everyone is a dog and all should be taken up against the wall and shot. And when the friendly guy says, "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" Hubbard says, "Get out." You see, the beast, the difference between man and animal is we have manners and we have love. And the greatest secret in Scientology, per L. Ron Hubbard, is to love. Because he grew up unloved, you see, untouched, unpetted. You ever seen the snotty-nosed kid who grew up and he had to sit down and shut up all day and he wasn't allowed to go outside and play with his friends? That's Scientology. Hey, sit down. Shut up. If you make a move, it's a flunk. If you talk, it's a flunk. From now on, L. Ron Hubbard is your voice. L. Ron Hubbard is your mind. And you have to have a closed mind if you're going to be a Scientologist. If you want to be open-minded, you're supposed to quit fast. This is all in keeping Scientologists working. A bulletin where L. Ron Hubbard uses mind control techniques of Milton Erickson, which is double entendres. For example, L. Ron Hubbard says, when a man has pain, he goes unconscious. That's the thing to do. You catch that? When you give a man pain, he goes unconscious. That's the thing to do. Now he's giving you two things to do. A man has pain, you know, he goes unconscious. That's the thing to do. So he's giving you a double message. This is all throughout his personality test. For example, when others are getting rattled, having their chains pulled in Scientology, you remain fairly composed. Now let's look at the words he uses, because the word is God, and that's what makes man move. Trust me, if you seduced a woman in a bar, you know exactly how it works. The first step you do is you buy her a drink, right? Hare Krishnas know this. First thing a Hare Krishna does is he gives you a rose. Now you feel indebted to the Hare Krishna to listen to him. I've also studied them. In fact, I've been to their location too in West Virginia where they have their site. But Hubbard does it differently. He says, okay, you're going to get a free personality test. Then after you take the test, he tells you that the test was worth $300. Now you feel obligated to do the next step. And it's all entrapment, okay? Step by step by step to get you to agree a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and before you know it, you think slavery is freedom. And that's a Scientologist. Would you work for 30 cents an hour for 1 billion years and read one man and only one man for the rest of all time? That's what CST staff agreed to. And guess what the fiscal year end is? Adolf Hitler's death. April 30th, the night of witches, the witches' holiday, Feast of Beltane. The most unholy of unholy days in the occult. So Scientology is the devil religion. I can prove this. I'm up against the IRS and Scientology, and IRS federal tax court right now, and I'm seeking $10 million in a whistleblower agreement to audit the Church of Scientology on behalf of the United States government. I audit the auditors by profession, and I can tell you April 30th is a strange fiscal year end for any organization to have. But L. Ron Hubbard believes in force, and he talks about this in the tape I submitted to the IRS, where Hubbard said he hated the world of sweetness and light. Now, I want you to imagine L. Ron Hubbard is a little kid, a snotty-nosed kid, and you're playing with all your friends on the playground, and you're having a great time being connected, sharing ideas, learning. Everybody's voice is important. There's no one more important than the other. We all have an equal share. When Scientology, you don't have that. It's like L. Ron Hubbard comes to the basketball court, and you're playing basketball and passing the ball, and he says, give me the ball. I got another game. And he walks away with the ball. And he's like, where are you going? I want to play. I want to play. I want to be able to talk. I want to be able to pass the ball. Well, no, you can't in Scientology. He's the only one allowed to write. And they say, if it's not written by Hubbard, you're supposed to ignore it. And L. Ron Hubbard, I have quotes where L. Ron Hubbard said, all we can do, us guys, is lie. We have no truth. Only he does. And the truth is this, L. Ron Hubbard's the devil. And unless you realize he's the devil, then he's the only one who knows who he is. I mean, let's look at Charles Manson. He was a Scientologist. Does he look like the devil to you? He's got a Nazi cross on him, right? Right on his forehead. What did L. Ron Hubbard have? He's got the Nazi order. Do you know what the Nazi order is in Scientology? Knots is Ned for OTs. Ned is a new era. That's a Nazi term. We talked about the 1,000-year right, new era. If you remember the Dark Ages, they lasted 1,000 years. That's what they want to return us to. Pain and unconsciousness. Because L. Ron Hubbard was a sadist. That's why he wants Scientologists to, quote, suffer on up to the conditions. Yeah, Hubbard. Let's look at him. Let's be gangsters. Let's tell some humor. All right? You ready? Hey, Joey. What's the difference between a Scientologist on OT0 and the dead guy from the morgue? Well, you saw this guy. Well, did the dead guy from the morgue get fucked if there was a dead guy up here? And he had to sit there for 2 hours? Would he get fucked? No. So they worship death. Thanatos. Look it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is like, I love those guys, man. Man, I love those guys. I don't know them, but the definitions are awesome. And they talk about the OT symbol in Scientology. Do you know the OT symbol comes from Al Sacrali's website? Only there's a mirror on Al Sacrali's website, and there's OT shown both ways, because you can look at the reflection. Well, in Scientology, they have hate on the tone scale and no love, so there is no reflection. They have anger and no laughter, boredom and no excitement. They have death at the top at 40.0, the number of trial initiation and death in the occult, and at the bottom at total failure. And this correlates with L. Ron Hubbard's definition of death in his tech dictionary. Death is serenity beingness with no doingness. In other words, your body just sits there. Pass in Scientology. When you can sit there as a dead stiff for 2 hours with your eyes closed, you can sit there on the next step with your eyes open. And in the early 80s, you weren't allowed to blink, your eyes weren't allowed to water, nothing. I'm one of the only people on planet Earth, I guess, who's passed that drill. It wasn't easy. And you see these Scientologists, you know, coming up to you, and they're not interested in you or what you have to say. They're trying to spot your tone level. Now, how shallow is that when they don't have love on the tone scale? They wouldn't spot any of us. We wouldn't even exist. You see? Hubbard lived in his own little world, and when he got rich selling Dianetics, a book of lies and perversion, where he admits to killing his own children with his bare hands with coat hangers, and writes about it as though it's normal. Then he got money, and he decided to start his own little Orwellian world. I was on this ghost ship that sails out in the Caribbean for 6 weeks. They tried to get me to sign that Sea Org agreement, to give up my life, my family, my friends, everything I've ever loved, all my books, and only read Hubbard for the rest of all time. And I said no. I was on Abel's advisory board, which is a cheap trick by Hubbard. He says that the suppressive personality will position himself as a betterment activity. So he started the organization called ABLE, Association for Better Living and Education, but he should have called it CANE.